Aloha Kako. Welcome to tonight's show of Kanakanology, May 17th. And tonight we have Kepa Kaeo. We brought up from Hilo. We're so happy to have you with us tonight, Kepa.
Aloha.
It's very exciting to have you as a guest. You know, you've been dedicated a lot of years of your life and to all kinds of issues with the Kanaka movement, with securing Kanaka rights and identity. You know, I know you're someone I've looked up to and looked to for leadership and for your mana'o. You've been really a guiding force for many of us of our generation. And I'm so grateful that you're here with us tonight to share about your journey and how you got to this point in your life and share with us kind of about that. Mahalo and so much for joining us.
Aloha. Mahalo for having me. Mahalo, Auntie Kau'i, for inviting me, and Leah for being the host and the gracious intervener for such topics that we have to go through, right? But thank you again for inviting me up, and I'll try to do my best to share a lot of why I do or why and who I am for those who don't know me personally.
Mahalo. So yeah, tell us, where did it all begin?
Okay. Well, this these journeys is very. I believe it's within a lot of Hawaiian people, a lot of Hawaiian families. It's just a matter of when does it come out, right? When does all these things surface? And for me, I could look back to I'm an orphan. My mom died when I was in my junior year. So we went through this rough patch of identity, orphanage. So I was blessed to be part of the QLCC, the Queen Liliuokalani Foundation. And so me and my brothers, we all had some clothing, some shoes, whatever we could from QLCC. So that was a humbling start, a rough start. But as we got older, these benefits to orphans, we start to think a little bit more critique about ourselves and our situations and the things that we have been going through. And so, just like any other keiki, I was going through some turmoils, with dealing with my mom's death and, imprisonment of our fathers and whatnot. I was always, an outgoing athletic person. We did a lot of sports. So I always, thank my Hanai parents, my uncle and my auntie, who took care of us and always showed us that there's this athletic part that we should be kind of focusing on as well. And so with that, as I was growing up, I graduated from Waikea High, 2002. So yeah, I'm kind of old up there, and so I was blessed.
I'm not that old. That's
I'm
when I
not
got
that old,
two.
but
That's the same as me.
yeah.
Not just
But
joking. We're kind of old
no,
now.
no, I know, I agree. But when we look at it over time, time did fly. We blinked our eyes. We were elementary. We blinked our eyes again. We were in high school. Blinked our eyes. College was power, and now we're makuas now, yeah. And so back in 2001, I was blessed to be hanai'd by few families. Um, Bella Pua, which was George Pua's wife, she was one of the cornerstones of who you see now. In my days when I wasn't really in my right state of mind, she used to take care of a lot of special Hawaiian children up at the high school, and we would be able to do our homeworks and get special counseling in case we were going through these issues. And she would always remind me that there's better things ahead. And being young at that time, 16, 17, I didn't understand the in-between talk. But she always had a composure about herself. She always had that look of calmness. And I can see her now, and I can every time I think of it, it just gives me chicken skin, right? Because we're talking about the beginning, right? When everybody's not in tune with themselves and life. So when she encouraged me to become better, look at bigger things. She didn't really tell me much, But when I graduated, um, our paths crossed again. And we met when Harry Kim was mayor of the Big Island. And they were holding Manukau Kanavai, LHG, out at the Kamehameha statue. And I remember Harry Kim hiding behind the statue. And I approached Harry Kim and I basically I told Harry Kim, hey, Harry Kim, why don't you arrest these Hawaiians over here? I said, look at them. They're pounding the pins inside the concrete road that the county has paved. I said, what kind of safety mechanisms can you guys hold these guys accountable for? Because I really wanted to ask somebody, right? I had that burning question. What's going on with all of this, right? With our history. And that's when, Harry, being Harry, he basically told me, boy, you know nothing of history that you need to know. And that day when he didn't write them a citation or anything, that was like the turning point to, okay, if the mayor's not going to citate anybody for pounding pins in the middle of the street and holding Manukau Kanavai for 2 days, I think we can take a run at this, right? And so that was more or less the full on commitment when I talked to Harry Kim and he told me to he's not going to do any of no arresting or citating. And so luckily, I was raised by my Hanai, I call him my Hanai Papa, Robert Kiliohomalu, and Chief Sam Kaleleiki. If you guys know who Sam Kaleleiki, Master Sergeant Gunner, you know this guy is the realest of real. And he only speaks one tone, and that's the loud truth. And then on the other hand, you have Papa Robert, who will sit you down and pray for an hour or so, if you can handle that, right? So ironically, I had these two wonderful leaders, uncles, my Hanai godfathers, and my papa. They're the ones what you see now. Um, taking these times from the time of my graduation um, to the time of their passing, it was just more or less our time or my time to learn, which I got to know a little bit about the government, the policies, the kanavai. I was fortunate and blessed to be a part of that circle of knowledge, of ike, and of sharing. And of course, as time passes, we all grow and we all learn. And so, with that being said, without Papa Keli Omalu and Papa Kaleleiki, I don't think you guys would be able to see the calmness and the ferociousness that I was raised around with these family members that took me in and taught me a lot of my history and a lot of the political standings and laws that are a foundation of who I am now. And because of that, um, we're talking about early 2000s as we're making this turn. That was a growing stage for me. And that's why, the younger ones are to listen and not to be seen, right? You would be listening and you wouldn't be seen speaking out loud because it's not your time yet. And I understood that. I had to wait. We're talking about 2015, right? 2015, the Mauna Kea issue happens, right? That's actually the time um, of the transition that took place. First round of Mauna Kea back in 2015. Um, I lost many family members. I lost Pops, Robert, and Uncle Kaleleiki that same year. So that was the transition of my kupuna. And that's when I had to become one to be accounted for now, because now they who left me this message and this gift, I owe it to them. And I could have never thought that I would be ready at such moments. But going through the university before the Mauna Kea thing went off, we were already initiating the flag ceremonies to adjust the injustice. We were, La Kea Trask, me. There were other Keahis, there were Kalania Keas, there were many other students that rallied right around these issues, and And me being from that one student who was enrolled at the University of Hawaii Hilo, I had to take on that kuleana, and that situation where you have La'akea and the other Hawaiian national students that were enrolled at the HCC, and that they had to take on that kuleana down there because they were students in that framework and that time in that time area. So like this growing phases that we went through of just learning since 2001 all the way through 2015, that's like almost 14 years, right? Of just reading and just absorbing and just watching and just learning, because nobody was doing this to the university. You know, we got many threats. The Homeland Security is going to come and going to arrest you for touching that flag because it's a sign of treasonous act towards the American flag. And we were saying, no, 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 no. As students, you know, we have the right to free thinking, to think of for ourselves, to follow older laws and older historical context to come up with our own solutions, even though a lot of the facilities didn't appreciate that. You know, we rallied around this concept of injustice, and lo and behold, the day that we took down the flag 3 times, we took it down 3 times, and you know, we had resistance from a lot of people, even Hawaiian teachers down at HCC, which they threatened us that the cops are going to get involved. And you know, Uncle Keoni Kelave, he was our Pohaku Kuone. Yeah, he was the one managing, help managing the situation to get these conversations to a bigger site. So we had these obstacles that we went through, but as we know, you know, through all this persistence, we just keep on building and building and building. And you know, with the documents of many college professors, Keanu Sai, you know, Donovan Preza, you know, Willie Kawai. These are like overwhelming knowledges that our facilities or our universities can't really rebut. And then that was like, you know, all of these things added up. It's like a perfect, it's like a perfect storm, right? You can see these things happening. They're losing control, right? People are speaking up. Faculties are pointing out the flaws. And all you need is just Native Hawaiian heirs to voice their concerns in a certain manner. And you know, we got the declaration, Hawaii National Student Declaration form out, you know, through all odds. So if you go to any university, they have a declaration of Hawaii National. And still yet, you know, you don't hear this out in the university streamline. And so like this is a part, and even so after we got the initial document for the Hawaii National students, the university allows Hawaiian Kingdom IDs to rent out books within the same time. So as we're working on this project, Mauna Kea goes off. Mauna Kea goes off as we're finishing up our first project, the flag. The flag is the biggest symbol. We're going to adjust the nonverbal. So that's what we made that whole push for, to adjust the nonverbal, right? Should be 2 flags up there, right? Shouldn't be just, should be on their separate poles. Shouldn't be 2 on 1. The American over the Hawaiian should be separated on both equal poles, standing for the right purpose. And that's what the goal was. And so when that pole was finally sealed and they were going to do it construction because they didn't want to do it, Mauna Kea goes off. Mauna Kea goes off. So it's right. It's like almost like, wow, Mauna Kea goes off. So me and the brothers, me and the cousin, right? We're looking at the pole and we're telling each other, so what, cuz? So what's next? And I say, of course, you heard the Mauna, right? And I'm thinking to myself, you know, you're right. You're right, right? So I'm listening to the cousins telling me we have to move it up. And so I'm already, you know, whatever's coming our way, I guess it is what it is, right? As the cousins is telling me this. So I'm just, you know, jacked up already, right? All the cousins is in my ear. We're around the ahu, right? We're discussing all these matters, and it's really just compounding on us. And then that's where, you know, the the beauty came when we went up to the top. We met, you know, um, all of the brothers up there, right? Lanakila, Kokahi, right? La Kea, right? There was all of the brothers up there ready to go, right? And so that's when I knew that, you know, this is another thing that we have to take in because it's attached to UH, right? And so our work at the UH didn't just stop at the flags. We were going to the chancellor to get the declaration form for our identity to be founded underneath the state and in the university to recognize that we exist as Hawaiian nationals. And we got that accomplished. We got them to have a documentation, which we don't know because we're not lawyers. So if Ken Law is out there, somebody's out there, you know, how do we administer this Hawaiian Declaration, Hawaiian National Declaration for school? Because, you know, we was working with Auntie Gail Makuakane, right? We was talking with them about the crown lands where the school sits on, right? The school sits on crown lands. It's one of the 5 special obligations given to the Native Hawaiians, which was the free education exemption, right? That's where we was headed with this too, because we were trying to keep this mechanism going where we got them to recognize, right, that the nationals exist. Now we telling you how to get these monies uh, um, handed out or distributed to these students because of the injustice and where the schools were located. That was the most key, was where the schools are located. And if they were allocating and giving the right amount of funding to the schools so that we could get exemptions when Hawaiians pass their courses. That's what we were trying to work it on. And Auntie Gail was telling us, you know, these, we were involved with the Native Hawaiian checkbox. There were millions of dollars allocated after that checkbox, because before that checkbox, there was not a Native Hawaiian checkbox. Yes, Auntie, back in like the early 80s. So Auntie Gail, you know, Makuakane is explaining that this checkbox is worth billions of dollars, right? The identity checkbox is worth billions. And so if they can identify the Native Hawaiian, then what is it for the Hawaiian nationals? What piece of that can go to this education? And so, you know, we had a, you know, me, the cousins, right? We were going in, right? Because you got to remember, every 4 years, 3 years, you move from the HCC, you move up. So then now you got to find somebody else to malama that kuleana, right? Because now you're leaving and now you have to go upwards. So as we were going upwards, we were, you know, we were fighting for all of these things, right? We even filed with uh, Jennifer Stoddard. Jennifer Stoddard is a retired FBI agent that works for the University of Hawaii at Hilo, and she used to take grievances on discrimination. And so we, you know, us, the cousins, we as students would always go to her office and we'll say, hey, look here, according to to these issues, because we've been having issues with janitors putting handicap signs on our ahus. And so we were facing a little bit of discriminations along the way. So we were trying to, you know, we were trying to get these things on record so we could hold people accountable. The chancellor at HCC, she stole our High Hawaii 11 times in the span of her term. And we called the cops about 7 times until the cops just didn't want to come no more, because they said that it was the school's obligation. And we told them, no, as students, we have rights. Even if we don't agree upon each other, you cannot steal my flag. You cannot steal my property because you have an issue with me. We have to find some way to come around these things. So you can see, like, you know, where we're growing, right? Me, the cousins, right? We're talking, you know, we're going to these departments, we're talking to these Jennifer Stodders, we're calling police on stolen property, and the cops can't do nothing to us for putting an ahu up in some kind of objection to the genocide that's going on, right? Yes, they gave us hard time, but at the end of the day, we were so persistent. It was almost like they would basically do, I guess, you know, um, not acknowledge us and steal our flags and whatnot. So when the Mauna Kea issue came forward, it was almost like a, you know, we have to make um, the university be accountable. Yeah, we see how they treat Hawaiians at the university level, and that's why it was a no brainer that when 2015 came around and the arrest came, you got to remember before this time around, there were only a handful, two handfuls of Kanakas living on the Mauna for that 5 to 6 months. Ealae in the morning, watching the sun go down, sleeping underneath the stars. So when when we were there with the anticipation, the midnight raids, DLNR raiding us, right? We living in that mindset that anything can happen. And you know what? It was an exciting time. It was an exciting time, right? We were up there, coming right out of school, working, jumping right in our trucks, our vehicles, drinking cocoa, sleeping in the back of our trucks, waiting for the next horn to go off. It was like for 6 months now, for 5 to 6 months, you have just a handful of Kanakas, young Kanakas now. Mikey, Lakia, me. There's even there was non-Kanaka, Gino, right? Jojo, right? There was this niche, right? Of Bronson, right? Puel, um, um, uh, there were only so much of people up there, and that's what made it exciting. It was like people was laying it on the line, right? Nobody was getting paid, right? We was eating saimin, we was drinking cocoa, right? We wasn't eating that healthy, but you know, we had the same mindset. And so, going through this whole change, right? This whole change, even at Mauna Kea, that's when everything got more clear. Was when we were sitting on Kalepe Moa, um, on Kalepemoa, we was looking down. We're talking about 4 months now, right? And we're looking at these vast lands. On a break there, you can see out Pohakuloa side, yeah? Right by Hale Pohaku and Kukiai Mauna Hale, right? And so as we're looking further yonder, right, we're, we're still discussing what's next, because this is going to be Pau. And where do we go from there? And that's where Hawaiian Homes came into a full spectrum. Because as we was discussing Hawaiian Homes in the earlier days with Uncle Robert, Papa Robert, and Uncle Sam guys, you know, that was them talking about it, right? As me listening to the kupuna talking about it. Now their stories and their answers is coming back 2015, right? We're discussing the same issue, but now I'm sitting on the Mauna now, right? And I'm looking down, and I'm sitting here with my cousins, my brothers, right? And we're saying that when this is Pau, because no occupation lives a lifetime up there. You're gonna have a deal, things are gonna break apart, things are gonna stall out, natural things occur. But when that issue came down, we decided that day that it was gonna be our turn to point the cameras on the 100-year failed obligation, because we could see the nitpicking, DLNR, state of Hawaii. We could see everybody pointing the finger at them. But when we and the cousins got together, we said, hey, you know what? You know what? Who has been here the longest? And we decided to go after the Department of Homeless Hawaiians, because when we looked down in Humuula Station, right, we seen people taking sheeps, ungulates by the loads. And that's where we decided that if we're going to make a stand about an issue, I think we should be taking it down to the bottom. Just like everything else, you have to clean the bottom before we go to the top. And that's where, from that day forward, that's when everything turned um, for us and the cousins, that we needed to focus. And yes, the UH is an issue, but there's a bigger issue at hand. So we cannot lose sight of what we're looking at and just isolate one little fraction. We have to look at the whole fraction as one, because we know without certain permissions, the state couldn't do it, the county couldn't do it, the astronomers couldn't do it, right? They needed these mechanisms to work. And then that's how we got into our memorial, right? We decided that, hey, you know what? Hawaiian Homes, you guys are allowing these traffics to go up, right? You guys are allowing these flows to go up. You're allowing people to think that that's their road. You're not being honest on whose road it is. And so we decided to launch the research on them. Then we found out there wasn't a traffic assessment. There needed to be a traffic assessment to know the capacity that the Mauna can obtain. So possibly they could never come up with the right number because nobody did the count assessment since the time that the bids have been out. And the bids have been out for the road to be extended so it was safe to travel, because you see how it dips off on the left and right, right? So these are the things that needed to be done before they could accumulate any clear data of how big to widen the road, how much capacity the Mauna could have, and what kind of environmental damage or carbon footprint that is really going on Mauna Kea. And so thus was born our memorial for the kupuna, our loved ones that we've lost. We see cemeteries out in Oahu, we see them out in Molokai, and we wondered, why ours one? Why don't we have one? And that's where that kind of sprung out, is all in that whole area, because you guys got to remember, Uncle Joe Tasso, Auntie Moani, they were all part of this too. They're all part of this dream. Yeah, they all hanaied us. They all trained us. They all gave us certain qualities that you guys might see in us, right? But you guys didn't know that these qualities are coming from these kupuna. And these are the ones who inspired the Beneficiary Trust Council. Uncle Joe Tasso took us down to the Department of Hawaiian Homelands to endorse the Beneficiary Trust Council waitlisters of all 6 districts the day of his retirement. And, he told them that, we need to consult with the beneficiaries and the waitlisters who are just waiting. And so, with all of this encouragement, right, from Uncle Joe Tasso, this is what it came out to be. Was the final product was show what is our worth. Just like how we did at the university, we had to show our worth. We're not just here to cause trouble. We're here to figure out what's the proper education to educational malpractice. How do we get better student fees or student aids for us going to school and graduating? What is the housing like for students? We believe like the students needed housing, the Hawaiian students that come to the university. And we believe that all of these things should be accommodated if they are paying their fair due. And so now the same thing applies for the Department of Hawaiian Homes now. So we decided to count the road, and we decided to make sure that the tallies that we come up with for the 365 days, that 365 days is an exact number of what we seen of a total number of cars and capacity of peoples within the vehicle. We knew exactly what is our worth now. And our worth is a couple millions at least. If you're looking at a $20 range to a $15 like our national park, we don't take no higher, we don't take no lower than that. We're looking at a pretty substantial amount of money for X amount of years that they haven't been able. So if you take it at a smaller number, which would be around $1 million, right? We'll say a soft million if we're taking at the lower number. You times that by what, 56 years, right? You times that by how many years that road's been up there. You talk about the rent for that. I think that's what, even the university, Hawaii at Hilo came down. What is her name? She oversees TMT, Mrs. the Asian lady. Well, she came to our tent a couple times when we were taking data, doing our safety check and whatnot at Haleokuhio, and she wanted the data, right? She wanted to see what was the numbers and what this was like, because this is something that the university needed. So the Mauna, from the time that we was at the university all the way to the time of the Mauna, our projects as the younger Kanaka had to take on bigger roles in Kuleana, right? Like first was the
Right.
university, money, allocations, free education, housing, food, transportation. And once we went to Mauna Kea, right, it's about now, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about injustice now, right? We're talking about human rights
Totally.
violation. And so therefore we have a bigger toll at hand now, because now we're talking about not the broken trust book where they blame the senators, OHA, and Kamehameha schools. We're talking about the federal government, the DOI, and the Department of Homeless Hawaiians. And to me, that's the upper echelon. Yeah, there's an upper echelon to this. And that's where we found ourselves. I was like, wow, we're really against the tide, right? There's core stealing, right? Big cores being stolen by DLNR and other agents and private corporations and doctors. And then we're dealing with this now. And then now we're dealing with the theft of our natural resources, which is the PP, which, yes, should be managed, shouldn't be shouldn't be able to roam wild. Management is key, but not for profiting for non-natives and other people who don't reside on Moko Keawe. So that's kind of like how Ahu'ula inspired us, right? We had to think of something bigger than us. It was beyond education now. It was about Hawaiian homes doing the right things and making the right decisions this time around. And that's where everything kind of came to a head, is where at Mauna Kea, and we catch we catch so many things that was going on. Like, people don't know that even geothermal was found on the side of Mauna Kea. Yeah, and this is not well noted information that the government wants you to know, or DLNR or DHHL, but these things were duly noted, that there were minerals and there were sufficient powers around that match geothermal that could be used on the slopes of Mauna Kea. And to me, that's kind of like where everything was clicking in. It was almost like, okay, now there's a bigger picture. They can't award homes, right? They say there's no funding, the road is not yours. So what's next, right? It just started to build up more and more. And I was fortunate to be around like-minded Hawaiians and cousins and family members to keep the fire alive. Because, like, going against the university, going against Hawaiian practitioners that represent the university, right? And the discrimination, it's almost like you're getting it from both parties. You're getting it from an occupier, and you're getting it from a Hawaiian teacher. So the the obstacles that we went through definitely brought us forward to be more confident when we address DHHL. And that's where, the growing stage, right? The growing stage of these things, and having that long term of reading, experiencing, going to Kanavais, seeing how people react and how people don't agree on some things, right? I've been to many, many areas throughout my learning period, and I've seen many people disagree. I see many people get into heated arguments, right? I see many people almost throw down. And to be honest, I've learned that even Hawaiian politics in the kingdom time, people went to war. So at some point, we gotta let certain things out, because if not, you know, the I hate to say it, but most of the lessons that was learned early 80s and whatnot are basically obsolete in the 2000s, right? Because nobody had the Kuei petitions in the 80s, right? The Kuei petitions came out later, right? All of this research came out later. So if you're getting scoldings from people that are before this research and development and old information brought to light, then basically you're suppressing the knowledge. You're suppressing that old knowledge that wasn't founded by you, but because you have been maintaining a position for so long, that when this new course comes into play of independence and what is treason and all of these terminologies, because there's doctors now, there's Hawaiian doctors in the education system. This really throws a wrench to the old money. Yeah, because the old money has old ways, and when the old ways dry out, they're not going to be able to just adapt, because they are the ones who are monopolizing all of this mana'o, ike, kala. And that's where we're finding ourselves now is, why should we, I don't understand how we could be just talking about Mauna Kea and independence and inherent sovereignty doesn't have a position in such a conversation. We see this new Mauna Kea Management Board, right? We're talking about managing stolen lands, managing Kanakanology. Why are we talking about liberating stolen lands, right, and freeing the Kanaka? That's where I see this whole issue, right? We should be looking at it as in, when are we going to liberate and say no more and be our own conscious thinking, instead of trying to figure out new ways of adding the state with a bunch of Hawaiians and try and manage each other, right? We want to just manage Hawaiians and manage stolen lands. And so that's why it's kind of ironic that we're here right now, in this area. I believe Po'akuloa has a big part of it, but that's why I see it now more than ever. All the crown lands are in vulnerable positions right now, because of House Bill 499 and a couple other bills that passed, or been trying to be passed, with these extensions of public lands. And so that's why, once again, the department came up with an opening statement to Mrs. Inouye. Um, without consultation, you guys cannot just be extending leases. And so, I starting to see this little, response back from the community, because they're forced to. But we gotta, when we see a mayor, Mayor Inouye / Senator Inouye, she has a horrible track record. She arrested the most Hawaiians on the PVG in the Puna Venture Thermal down in Puna back in the early days. And she sent up an extra 15 million to get Hawaiians off of the road, which she has a hard time accepting reality that it's Crown and government lands. So to me, this House bill showed us more to what we're dealing with, because you see that, Kai Kahele and all of these other prominent Native Hawaiians, it's almost like when they hear a senator or ex-mayor say, "You guys don't exist," it's almost like they're almost stunned. They don't want to respond, and more is, you guys just try to make it invisible. So we are definitely in a pickle right now, right? We definitely are, and that's why, all of this is coming to a close during COVID-19, right? Where laws are being passed, these things are just being, no matter how many people oppose, write testimony, give virtual testimonies, it just doesn't seem to matter at this point. They're just passing any bill that that can take stolen lands, because you guys got to remember, the apology bills talks about these lands being set aside until things are settled, because these are unsettled land claims. So you can see why they're moving quick too, right? They want to try and extend so they can tie up these leases. And that's where we have our grave concerns, that we cannot allow our Hawaiian Kingdom lands, our crown lands, be taken for just pennies or less, right? And so, we just like to take a step back and observe as we move forward into this new legislation body. We contact Kai Kahele, we do the appropriate measures, but we fall on deaf ears. And this being that 2021, the year that Prince Kuhil signed that 100-year law that was supposed to be maintained, this has to be the year that even all of this racism must be put out. This year, racism must be snuffed out. If people stand for Black Lives Matters, if we stand for Stop Asian Hate, right? We should be also standing up for the Hawaiian injustice and the racism that has continuously plagued us for over 100 years. So I see it as kind of hypocritical that we see all of this Asian politicians actually taking a stab at our lands like this so blatantly, right? You got to remember that the Admissions Act, to be admitted to the union and to maintain the union, they have to follow the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, the compact, to the special trust obligations, which was housing, education, and health. And you can see it. We have the worstest health. We're the highest without homes, and we have the worst education. So to me, they failed all of their special trust obligations. So whoever is citizenship is relying on this, your grandparents or whatnot. I believe you guys need a wake up call, because if worse comes to worse and Hawaii can't remain a position in this union, then you guys basically are singled out as the traitors, because you guys decided to continue to extend leases and continue to X out the voices of the Hawaiian people for your guys' benefit. And the TMT is a perfect example. Pohakuloa is a perfect example. After Koho'olave was settled, everything was shifted to Pohakuloa. And now we're over here dealing with RIMPAC, right? Every few years, RIMPAC comes around. And this is another topic that we know that there's Hawaiians that work on the military base, that have military contracts, that do benefit from these military issues. But we don't see them speaking up and saying enough bombing, enough of this depleted uranium, enough of this genocide. It just keeps on going. They change captains. This recent one, this next lieutenant captain of Pohakuloa, after the first one got informed, the Filipino general or lieutenant, he leaves office. So it's always seeming like when the community gets these conversations going, Jim Albertini, right, and a lot of these other community activists that get these conversations going, they just switch the pieces. They say, okay, yeah, this guy is Powell, new guy in, and now you gotta update him, and he has to try and convince you for X amount of time being, right? It's very tiresome, right? But that's kind of like, the growing pains that we're going through, or that I've experienced, from what I've learned and the generations that have taught me. Now more than ever, I could never fill in their shoes, right? I don't have that kind of wisdom. I don't have that kind of mana'o. But what I do try to work with is allowing the Kanaka to be themselves, to just be themselves. Because if you tell somebody to be somebody, they're probably not going to be the best of what you're trying to tell them to be. And I've learned that, yes, we're going to have differences with federal recognition. We're going to have differences between injustices, because some people believe that, this is America, and they believe that things went the legitimate way. But I truly believe that when it's all said and done, history will prevail. Our Queen's legacy will show itself. The Ku'e petition is a staunch reminder of our position, and it's one of the main reasons why I continue to do what I do. It's because of the responsibility in the Kuleana, and so by my experiencing life and going through the lows of lows, that's why when you see me talk about the orphans or talk about homelessness, it's because we were part of that. When I was born out in Oahu, family out in Papakolea, and my other family was in Waimanalo. And I was growing up in Kalihi, KPT. So, even when Waimanalo and my auntie guys was living at the beach, this is right before the opposition of Makapu. My auntie guys was living down at Waimanalo Beach eating MREs. That's where we were living 3 to 4 months of my life, is we were living at the beach. And lo and behold, when we came back up Big Island, my family was, Uncle Reggie, Auntie Lay guys was living in Onikakaha, right behind the pavilion. So, it's almost like born into it, right? Born into this struggle, right? Because it wasn't like I chose my parents. It wasn't like I chose what beach to be around. It's not like I chose who my friends were gonna be. It just kind of like, as life throws these curves, or just life in general just occurs, we gotta we got to try to do what our best intentions or our best manao. And like I said, I'm not 100% guaranteed money on all these issues that I discuss. But like I said, I've been around a lot of these elders, a lot of these kupuna who shared their experience with me and their lifetime with me. So from what only I know and what has been shared with me, I can only address it as so. Because if like this whole new thing with Mauna Kea and how things are progressing, just like any other Kanaka, I'm here learning, right? I'm watching how other Kanakas are moving. I'm watching how nonprofits are being able to work. And that's where I kind of want to just, just be just an observer, and just be ready. Just be makau kau that when it's time to deal with my kids or our family members, that, everything is laid out. Nobody's withholding information. And that's all we can be, is transparent with each other. And that's what I try to be, or I strive to be, when I encounter any Kanaka or any Hawaiian who wants to be proactive in any aspect of life, right? If we're dealing with DHHL, dealing in our natural resources, if we're dealing with education, I think a lot of people have a lot of good manao. Like I said, there's professors and doctors out there, and without them doing what they did, I would be lying to you if I didn't say it inspired me, right? All Willie, Donovan Preza, right? Ron Williams, Kam Sai, right? Even though we don't agree upon everything, I cannot deny the fact that they came forward with their manao and their ike of the past brought to the present. So yeah, that was just a little bit of this journey that it's hard to cover it all in full spectrum, but you can see um, it's been a long journey. I know it's not done, but I cannot say that I'm there's a dull moment. Living in an occupation, fighting for survival is there's never a dull moment, right? When you don't know where everything is coming from, and you don't know if you can make next month's rent, right? And then you belong somewhere on your Kuliana parcel. So all of these things, it just motivates, it motivates me to try to be a better Kanaka, better Makua, right? Just a better person in general. And just to be just to be alive right now is an exciting time. It really is. It really is, just like how I think how he was explaining, to see this development, to see the changes, you know, watching old films of Save Koho'olave, right? To actually going through our own occupation, right? Seeing how the real life and the real struggles with family really intersect, right? Because whatever you see on Facebook, it's really not all what it seems to be, right? Because people don't show you everything. People don't tell you their whole life, and most people would never do let you in on certain of these issues. But as for me, um, being on this Kanakanology, Anake was expressing that vulnerability, and to share these stories, and not let everybody know that you know just things just didn't um it wasn't pre-organized all the time, right? There was a time where kuka beneficiary trust council had to go to 6 districts, right? That's thousands of different personalities. So you got to remember, we got to sit there and we got to listen. It's not necessary stewarding the conversation, it's allowing the conversation to happen. And that's where I think I've grown a lot too, is talking is a small part of it, but listening is a bigger part, because one, not everybody's willing to share. And if they're willing to share, I suggest we be quiet, because what they're sharing could be that special piece or that gem that you was looking for, that could answer your question. The 6 years or 7 years we've been doing it, um, it's almost like that's what I took away from it. It's not about directing the conversation. It's about allowing it to flow and allowing it to just come out to the surface. Because when that happens, anything can happen after that. But to create a space to allow it to bloom, is truly what I think most people, are missing, right? Because I was missing that too, having it bloom in such a manner where it's not a forced bloom, but I was fortunate enough to get scoldings. I was fortunate enough to get, you know, the side poo ears, right? After we probably have the conversation, I got everything that came with putting myself out there, right? It's not all good things. People tell, boy, you don't know. Yes, auntie, yes, uncle, I don't know. Boy, have you seen? No, I never seen. Right? Like you have to be honest. You have to tell these people or these family members when they're confronting you, right? Boy, do you know? No, I don't know. Please allow me to know, right? If it's possible, right? Allow them to share. Because once they feel like you're arrogant or once they feel like that you know everything, then a wall comes up, yeah? And once that wall comes up, then now you're behind now. And so, being that Uncle Robert guys did a lot of prayers and for a long time, I knew how to just be quiet and just pull it. I just listen to Pops pull it and just put your head down, right? And you just follow along. And so I didn't know it would lead me to this where, now that when I'm getting criticized or when I'm getting feedback and some harsh ones, right? I don't put up my wall, right? I allow it to come forward. So I acknowledge that, we are all hurting. We're all coming from this place. We all have different understanding of what's going on. And if you just, some people just need to get it out of the way. They don't mean to yell, but that's just the way it comes out when you're dealing with the Lahui and you're dealing with our cultural spaces and our historical and sacred sites. People are really ma'a and sincere to this. And learning this, I believe that's kind of like a tool that a lot of Kanakas, a lot of Kanaka Maoli should take as lesson, grow, take it as you grow, because not everybody is willing to, take criticism as gently as others. And even when it's sore, sometimes you just gotta swallow it. But yeah. Do you guys have, any little bit of in between that you guys need a little bit more elaboration on or curiosity about?
You got something, Kumu?
Hey, let me just, for me, yeah, it's this time gap between yourself, Kepa, and myself. And, hearing the words when you came into the whole movement through the struggle. Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
really, really am hopeful. I'm really, really hopeful that our Lahui has expanded their strategic
Mm-hmm.
mental capacity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm saying about that is that, aole pauka ike ka halau ho'okahi. You cannot
Mm-hmm.
learn everything from one halau.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Agree.
Or, just from one. You have to take in all information and be able to, you know, bring it out again. And I really, like for us, Mana Opakia was kind of like, for me, was like, whoa, check them out.
Yeah.
They're on media, they're total dynamic, Kaho'okahi, you guys' whole movement too was challenging the courts, challenging the courts with Olelo, Hawaii. You guys get them a piece of paper that if you
Mm-hmm.
need an interpreter, but then
Mm-hmm.
when the implementation comes in, right? It
Mm-hmm.
was questioning, and the frustration of the judges. It was just one of those things that, like you said, stirring up,
Yeah.
stirring the pot, so to speak.
Yeah.
And looking at, and I'm gonna jump a little bit, but when I look at my life on Hawaiian Homes, Nanakuli, how the whole system was built for us to be alienated from our ocean,
Right.
you know,
Right.
to
Right.
be alienated from our makai, to be alienated from our streams, from our all these things that made up our ahupua'a. Like I can right now count how many people on the shoreline using it to provide food for their family. I
Mm-hmm.
can count on
Mm-hmm.
one hand
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I guess I can say that maybe I'm not, or I'll awake 24/7, but before, I just trying to imagine what that was like for the whole. We no more hukilau anymore.
Yeah, no more.
We no can use nets. We cannot use all of these things. The opihi thing just was on the news the other day of the guy, and the thing no match the punishment in a sense.
Yeah.
And so we're, what do we do as a lahui now to stop chasing after the rainbow, but to actually strategically plan for the movement now, to now make ourselves more visible, taking our children to the beach, any
Right.
beach that you and your papa had, connection to, or your tutu man, why isn't it that you cannot go back to those beaches like freely and just start walking it and start farming from it? I don't know what
Right.
better with
Right.
the farming, but also the hukila. What happened to the hukila? We do all these hulas, those kinds of stuff. I have hope that, there's going to be a time where we're so visible, like Lani Kai, these kind of places, that the untouchable places. I should, I just want to say that, it's so mahalo to you guys' movement in that sense, to stretch out your arms and hope.
All of these people, like you said, Lanakila, right?
Yeah.
He had his cultural instincts, right? You said Kahokai, right? He had his approach. So you see, like, there were many approaches that came from this one evolution. So I'm not gonna sit here and say no way that we're gonna be the same, because when I look at them, right? I look at everybody, how we grew, right? Some people took it with the language and they incorporated, beat their case, right? I ended up taking my court case as a Hawaiian national, and I beat my case as a Hawaiian national, which I didn't get to share with a lot of people, but I beat my case as a Hawaiian national, dismissed with prejudice, because I properly showed that I had my undivided interest still intact, that the state has to fulfill its obligation. And so when I see, all of these components, it only encouraged me to think like how you're saying, right? You see these turning from your guys' era to our era. I gotta say, without the computer, without the online, without the new doctorates that came out, I couldn't guarantee you that you're gonna see this of us, right? Because all of these things kind of like just all melted in at the right time. And that's where I just kind of feel like, this is what our kupuna was talking about, right? That there will be one day that we will come back. And this day is coming very, very soon, because you can see that our minds, right? It's like the civil polity, the kino, right? You have your kalaimoku, you have your kahuna, you have your lavaia, you have your mahiai. So when these things where we were feeding our community back in 2015, right? When we had the Aloha Aina unity thing throughout the Pai Aina, the kino was a structure that we got from Kamakau, that we shared from the university, reading our historical context, because we understood that our families, or in between our community, certain people wanted to be both hands. Certain people felt like they could be kalaimoku and kahuna, where we had to tell them, no, Keakua made you and gave you a gift. That's the gift you are. You're either the right arm, the left foot, the right foot. But you cannot be two arms and two legs. Yes, you may have the gift to know how it works, but you only have one gift that you're naturally gifted with. And that's where, the governance and this whole thing, right? Because you can just tell people how to act. We have to go get a context that was pre-existent to the kingdom. This was before the kingdom. And we had to show people that, hey, look at this kino format. One head, two arms, two legs. Not four legs, four arms, three heads, right? This has a functioning body. And that's how we were trying to bring this back to our community, is let's look at how we were prior to this kingdom, right? Because we got to come up with an understanding of how to respect boundaries and take things into very specific categories as in Kalai Moku, government,
Right.
Kahuna, spiritual culture, and Mahiai and Lavaya.
Mhm.
Those are that's your kino. This
Yeah.
is your kino. And that's where we know now that if we keep on telling people, what are you within this structure? They naturally picked it out.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, me, I get the net. Cousin, that's me right there. Left foot. I get the net. Oh yeah, cousin, what about you? Oh yeah, me. Yeah, I get the collar. You see me the right foot? That's me, cousin. I get mines down there. Certain people say, well, I do cultural, I do spiritual, I do pull it. Oh, then that's where you belong, Tita. Right?
Mhm.
And so naturally, people already was gravitating to where they belong and not to, oh, you go here, right? You go here, you go there. And that's where like what you're describing now, right? Is
Mhm.
what how do we move forward? How do
Mhm.
we consciously move forward? I think if we can visualize ourselves as our kupuna in just a kino form, you cannot go wrong, right? You
Mhm.
cannot go wrong when you're looking at your kupuna, right? 2 arms, 2 legs, and 1 po'o. If
Mhm.
you think of your kupuna as in 2 heads or any other else, then we get some issues and some concerns, right?
Mhm.
Starting to think that there's more body parts on a kino than what naturally there are. And
Yeah.
and that's why no, you hit it right on the head, because I was doubting to a certain degree, is there gonna be a transition? But when I see Kokahi guys do their thing and I started to see people growing into themselves, I said,
Mhm.
okay, right, right. They're My other cousins is growing into themselves. My other
Mhm.
brother guys is growing into themselves. And we allow this space for them to grow. And then
Mhm.
5 years later, 2020, we come right back again now, right? 5 years ago. And now we're back
Mhm.
again. Now we have, some of us have kiki, some of us graduated, some of us are doing other things in their lives. But that's what you're seeing now too, is the evolution from 5 years, from 2015 to 2020 now. And
Mhm.
I know, we don't all agree on certain politics and certain things, but you can kind of see that where the growing is going, right?
Mhm.
People are really growing, right? You have Kokahi really forming himself, right? Going back to education, hanging around
Right.
Kalikoa guys, right? Forming himself, right? Then you see Lanakila, he just graduated. He's a kumuhula underneath the Kanakaole halal, right? He's starting his pahu, right? So you starting
Right.
to see that,
Kahuna.
yeah, right. So
Kahuna.
you start seeing the elevation, right? People
Mhm.
are taking other keikis, right? Taking other offsprings, and they're leveling
Right.
them in their kulianas. And
Right.
so that's why you're starting to see what you see now, right? Who
That's how
is
you
dealing
build
with
a
what
nation
issues? That's how you
or
build the
rebuild
nation.
the nation. Yeah.
Yes, and I totally agree, and that's why,
Mhm.
now that you brought that up,
Mhm.
I kick back, I sitting back, and I'm thinking like, yeah, you're right, because I see it now, right? I'm in my position. I'm seeing people grow, whether it's left or right, right? You see that
Mhm.
they're not staying the same, right?
Mhm.
Everybody's elevating in their own manao. So
Yeah.
I can call that people are growing, but we just got to be accountable to the larger picture. Yeah, I think
Mhm.
that's kind of like where my concern is the larger picture. What is at the end of this, right? What is at the end of Mauna Kea? What is at the end of Pohakuloa? What's at the end of federal recognition that was we were recognized 100 years ago?
Mhm. Mhm.
What's after this? Because I'm excited to flip over the page and the chapter and close the book.
Mhm.
Basically, I want our next generation to close the old deals and start off clean,
Mhm.
because right now there's too much baggage that is with the politics and whatnot. And that's where I feel like, we have to be optimistic. We have to be, encouraging, right? We have to, when we see our leaders, if you see me, or if you see these community advocates, right? Not necessarily leaders like me, but advocates like me. It's good to stop me in the store or whatnot, because I get stopped all the time. People ask me, hey, what is this mana all about this? And to me, that's pretty exciting when people say, hey, I don't like this. Yeah, I don't like this. What are we gonna do about it? And they
Mhm.
just want to have somebody to respond, right?
Mhm.
And that's what it is. I don't give them an answer. I tell them, next time there's an event, next time there's a meeting, we'll text you. You can come in, right? We can discuss these things. But it shows that even in the community, like now, more than ever, people want to know, right? What's up with Mauna Kea?
Mhm.
What's up with Pohakuloa? What happened to
Mhm.
the federal recognition? What happened to the DOI that came in 2016, right?
Mhm.
They're
Right,
asking us what
right.
happened to all these guys. So our general public are like in the don't know, right? They don't know. But people like us, you, Auntie, Mia, our other Hawaiian communities, we know everything is happening, right?
Mhm.
We know where is being built. We know what is being illegally passed. We know what is not being distributed. And it's almost like we are definitely on a changing route. And that's where I have to agree with you that we definitely are changing.
and
Mhm.
and that people is always asking now. I
No,
feel,
they're always asking. They're always asking.
and that's something that's exciting too. Just that people are paying attention and starting to recognize like the overall collective understanding of the injustices. I
Yes.
think is stronger than ever, really.
No,
Mhm.
no argument there. No argument there. You can see it. You see it in our keikis. I see them in our schools. The kids are doing Hawaii Pono'i. The kids are, more stronger than ever, right?
Mhm.
Knowing their position in life. And I think that's what encourages me and should encourage every parent, right? Is like when you can, to me, I feel more secure when my kids are telling me the right things and showing me the right things,
That's right.
right? I feel secure, right? When they can listen, clean up, take out the opala, do little bit things, right? I feel secure. But when they don't or they can't, then it's almost like, oh, as parents, right? As makuas, you know, where do we, give our offsprings the power, the mana, to be themselves, to
Mhm.
speak their mind, right? No worry about what dad think. No worry about how dad act, right? What is on your mind? What is on your heart, right? And if your
Mhm.
kikis and my kikis can speak up, because my kiki can, my oldest one, man, she give me the rip, right? That's what gives me the, you know what I mean? That's what gives me the confidence, right? Even though when
Mhm.
I'm telling her no, silly kind, trying to see how far she can take it. No, 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 Dad. This is how you olelo Hawaii, right? This is
Yeah.
what this. Well, I say, oh, okay, right? I don't know,
Mhm.
okay, and I gotta accept it, right? And I gotta move on with it. So
Mhm.
I get checked too, and it's a good thing. And that's why everything what we do, I'm pretty sure now is for the kids, right?
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure that this is what life's about. I think life is, sending your makuas and your kupuna off better than what they had and leaving something greater than what you possess for your keikis.
Mhm.
And that's where I feel like that's the best thing that we should be able to do, right? Is to
Mhm.
notice those issues and recognize it and give it the respect that it does, right? Our kids. Because if we don't teach them or groom them, then we're gonna be, I guess, we're only gonna be as good as what we teach our kikis, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But
And
that's where,
and we've been
yeah.
the benefits of that too, yeah, Kepa. Like our generation, we would, like you were saying, we wouldn't be able to be at this level of expanding it
Mm-hmm.
without the work of you, Kumu, and your
Yeah, right.
generation
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
one
And you
before.
hit
So
it,
when
you hit it right on the head, Leah. Without the inspiration of Kumu, with Uncle Joe Tasso, without Auntie
Mhm.
Moani, right? All of our fallen soldiers, right? All of our soldiers that are alive, all of our kupunas who
Mhm.
are alive and who are with us in the spiritual realm, right? None of these
Mhm.
things couldn't even be imaginable if Koholave never take place, right? If
Mhm.
Makua Valley never take place, if Uncle Pat guys never get arrested down Prince Kuhio Mall, right?
Mhm.
All of these things
right,
is the things that's on us, right? That's on our
Mhm.
backs, right? That's in our ears, that's in the back of our tonsils, right?
Mhm.
That we can never get away from. We can never
and
Mhm.
get away from the legacies like this.
Mhm.
and it just
Mhm.
makes me so excited too for what's to come with our keiki, because
Mm,
Yeah.
look
yeah.
the whole of it, and then we built it to this. We're building this level of expanding out beyond, and then to really be able where our keiki are gonna go, you know, from here, standing on this now, and the view that they'll have. It's like
Yes.
your guys' view from up on the Mauna in 2015, looking down.
And
from
that's why
those-
it's kind of, and that's why it's kind of hard. We kind of just pull them by the ear and tell them to go one way, right? Because it wouldn't be natural. We want them to naturally grow into these, you know, to these advocates or to these staunch leaders. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you know, when you get to the point, you know, hopefully, and I'll see it in my lifetime, when we're not inviting or requesting the DOI to come to meetings, and it's handled the same old way, where there's a panel of people sitting there, we going up and we're talking, and we need to change that strategic planning thing. You know, we need to start making the dialoguing on a whole totally different. No, we're not asking your permission. You know, we're just letting you know. You understand? There's a big difference when you're standing there all
like
these years. We
the
go to
power
hear
dynamics,
and we're
yeah.
like, yeah, there's this
Like
thing
they're
where
the judge.
Uncle Skippy and Auntie Leilani guys, and who did, you know, they do such eloquent speeches, and everybody gets it. Everybody in that audience that are Kanaka gets it. Even non-Kanakas get it. That, you know, totally can see that whole dialoguing going on. And you look across the room to the DOI or whoever coming over there, and you just look at them and they're just sitting there just listening. No, that's not what it is. It's not just about listening. It's about changing the dynamics of the dialogue. And the dialogue can no longer, we have spoken so much about our eha, our everything that has become Hawaii, you know. And I just want to know that in my lifetime, I will be able to witness the next meeting, perhaps, or a meeting after that. Like I said, it's not that we're asking your permission or we're saying you need to listen. It's this is what it is because we said so. And as such, we have all these activities. Our lifestyle has changed. We will no longer accept that kuleana of you sitting there and just acting like, oh, you're going to go back to your offices or your place where you came from, and what? There has to be, you know, we cannot be strategically going, and what? It doesn't matter. When you sit on that Konani board and you're doing your strategic planning, it becomes a time in that whole strategic planning that says, you already pow, brah. You just don't know it. You know, and you watch these movies now, you know, these movies, and I say they're foreign movies in the sense that they're not Kanaka movies. But there was I don't know even the name of them, but I watched this one about this girl who, you know, and she won chess champions of the world, and I can't think of the title. And what it was her kumu told her that you're gonna when you know that the game is over, all you have to do is tell them out of the kindness of your heart and humility. It isn't about beating them to death. It's they know, only they know, you know, uapawa ela no. Okay. And I look at our, you know, we're fighting all these little things all over, but the common thread amongst all of it is, where are we as Kanaka? And how much, like now we're, like you said, the flag, how beautiful is that? That now, you know, the only place that flag, the Hawaiian flag, used to fly by itself was Mauna Ala.
Yeah, see?
Yeah,
So
because that is
only
sovereign
few.
land where our kupuna, our ali is buried. That's sovereign land. And that's when you look over there, only get our flag. Why? And before you used to fly on the car in the Iolani Palace, you know. But when are we going to maybe huli that thing? That's what I'm hopeful for. And I can hear it and I can feel it, that even if it's not in my lifetime that it might happen, or maybe when I'm old and I'm going, oh, thank you for doing, whatever.
Right,
I am so hopeful. Just after our discussion tonight, I am very hopeful. And one of the things, I'll add one more thing before we, I'll bring it back to you, is when Kaho'olawe happened, we grieved for George Helm,
Mm,
because we
mhm,
put
mhm,
all of, I felt that, and this is just by Mana'o, we put all of our ike and our aloha and everything in that man.
mm.
And so when it happened the way it went down, right, there was a big gap of, picking up our stuff and everything, picking ourselves up as a Kanaka, as a Lahui, and we tried to do a lot of different things and everything. But what I'm hearing from you tonight, it's like, there's a whole group of you that if somebody should fall, there's people coming up in the ranks. And we saw
There
it.
is
We
people there,
saw it
man.
at what is that? When they went for the
Cousin, yeah,
kahuku. And it wasn't even
cousin,
just Kanaka, right? Sherwood Forest wasn't just Kanaka. But you could
cousin
see a lot of
Kuike,
people
yeah.
kapo'o, right? But
Mm.
it's starting to it's starting to get that pebble in the water thing, that ripple
See, and
effect.
it's so, and yeah, and it's so weird. It's so ironic you say that too, because cousin Kuike, right? They come from a long line of families who've been moving the independence line for a long time. So yeah,
Mhm.
you starting to see their kids now, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
starting to see their
yeah.
kids now. So
Yeah. So thank you so much for this kuka tonight,
no, thank
because
you so much, Kumu.
the ike.
Well, I can only hope that, thank you for reaching out and, allowing me to break through that, to be able to be so open like that. I know we don't share a lot of our families and a lot of our personal issues to why we do what we do. But thank you for, encouraging me for step out of that comfort zone, and discuss certain things that I hold dear to me. And thank you for just being you, and inspiring me for do things that I don't normally do. Like I said, it makes me sweat a little bit. I'm not gonna lie when I talk about my family and my upbringing, because you know that's how Hawaiians are, right? Hawaiians are not the type to go around and tell everybody and everything of their life, right? But
Mm.
you guys allowed me to share things that I don't usually share, and I thank you. And you always been a role model for me, and just your stance advocacy. You've been, knowing you even before we got to know each other. Growing into this relationship, like you said, right? Not knowing each other to us knowing each other, you know, it just brings me to a little higher level, that I learn from you guys and take whatever I can and build from it, like you said. So mahalo again, Anake and Leah. Thank you for hosting and allowing all this kuka to be generated, for our lahui to see, and also for our kikis in due time, that they get to see that this kind manao, does exist, right? Because maybe not that, we get to see it in our time, but this live stream and these things on online are definitely going to be something that it's like a manao bank, yeah. You can
Yeah,
always
yeah.
go back to the manao bank and type in which season or what episode you want to hear, right? If you never caught it, right?
The new Peppa of today,
No, no. It's very simply like that, right? It's like a historical recording, like the new Peppa, just a
I
visual new Peppa.
oh.
Go
That's all
ahead.
That's
right.
okay. Well, we're really grateful for you joining us tonight, Kepa. I know that can be, like you said, sometimes it kind of goes against what you might think to do of sharing your personal stories, but I think the benefit is real, and that's just
Mm-hmm.
part
Yeah,
of
you
the of
guys.
There's
Kumuzike,
people out there with that similar thing, and maybe they just kind of like was like, wow, man, if I can do it, if I heard what he said, whatever. It's that kind of like kuka kuka. It's
Yeah.
inspirational.
No,
Mhm.
no, definitely. And for all the viewers, and all the family members out there, if you guys know Auntie Kaui, just give her, a shout or whatever, and that she can get you in touch with me if you guys have any concerns, or if you guys wanted to reach out and do other community concerns that you guys have. We're always open to that too. So once again, if you guys have any other things that we want to discuss as a Lahui, I'm always there and available to discuss some matters like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you
well,
guys.
that's it for tonight. Mahalo nui, ya kako, for joining us tonight, and we'll be back next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mahalo nui.
We
Ahui.
Mahalo nui. Ahui ho.
We hope.